Hi, welcome to Unit 1.1 Video 1 for Mr. McGeehee's 9th grade biology course at Arizona School for the Arts. This video series follows the biology coloring book by Robert D. Griffin. In this video, we're going to take two main ideas: what it means to be alive, which is coloring book plate number 1, and the flow of matter and energy in the biosphere, which corresponds to coloring book plate 43. Being alive involves 6 essential processes. You'll find lots of things in nature that do 1 or 2 of these, but only living things do all 6. And likewise, you can only define something as being alive if in fact it does all 6 of these things. So we're going to take them one at a time. You can write them down now if you want. We're going to take each one on its own. So the first characteristic that we'll look at is homeostasis. These are the sand bushmen from Southeast Africa, and they are on a really excruciatingly difficult hunt for food to feed their family. And this hunt will take them all day. They're going to be pursuing a large animal that's stronger than they are, that's faster than they are, and they're going to be doing it in the heat of the day. And the reason that they can be successful in these hunts is that they have the ability to sweat. Sweating keeps them cool. If it weren't for sweating, they would get too hot too quickly, they would overheat, they would have heat stroke, they would die, they would not be able to do what they need to do to track down this animal. In fact, the animal that they're pursuing is probably a large antelope or something like that, doesn't have the ability to sweat. It's a big, heavy animal that can't sweat, and they basically run it to exhaustion, which is why they're here. We're talking about homeostasis. Now, homeostasis means the ability to keep your internal conditions constant. And sweating is what allows the sand bushmen to do that. They can keep their internal body temperature constant despite the fact that they're running through the desert in the middle of the day when it's very hot. So homeostasis is important because it allows organisms to have some stability despite the fact that their environment is changing. Environments get hotter or colder, or they change in pH or humidity or all sorts of other factors. And an organism maintains an internal condition that is stable despite those changes. The reason this is important is because the other life processes have to happen in a very narrow range of conditions. And so if the internal environment changes as much as the external environment, those life processes can't occur properly, and therefore the animal isn't able to live, right? So organisms maintain their life processes by keeping their internal conditions constant. This is true for single-celled organisms and really big animals like humans. Movement. Look at this bunny, it's moving. But it's not moving in the same way that something that's not alive, like a rock, would move. So the bunny is moving in a way that is particular to living things. And we'll try and put some words to that if we can. So the first thing we do is that we say that living things move in response to environmental change. Right? Non-living things do that too. If some soil erodes under a rock and then it rolls downhill, that's a movement in response to environmental change. But it's not quite the same as with animals. Animals take in stimulus from the environment, like maybe predators approaching or prey in the environment, and they move in response to that. Also, living things move in order to maintain their life processes. So running from predators or running toward prey, moving out of the heat, those are all things that allow the animal to stay alive. And finally, living things move in a way that is often in opposition to physical laws, like gravity. The rock is never going to roll uphill on its own, right? But this bunny could roll uphill, it could run downhill, it could run all kinds of hill, right? Organization. This is a picture of a cell, and you can see how organized it is, right? That's not true just because of just on a cellular level, but on lots of levels. So when it comes to multicellular organisms, you have organization from the cellular level, the tissue level, all the way up to the organ system, organism level. The other description that we need to understand about organization in living things is that there is a sense in which the structure of an organism's body relates to its function, or the structure of an organ relates to the function of that organ. So, for example, here's two very similar birds. They live in the same sorts of places. They live in marshy wetlands in the southeastern United States. The one on the left is a roseate spoonbill. The one on the right is a scarlet ibis. They live practically side by side in the same environment. They eat lots of the same kinds of critters, things that live in the muck around them, but notice the differences in their shape, the shape and size of their bills, right? The spoonbill has a specific structure that gives it a particular function. It uses its paddle-shaped, spatula-shaped bill to sort of sift through the loose mud and then grab things that are moving around in it. The ibis, on the other hand, the bird on the right, has this probing bill that curves downward. And instead of like sifting around in loose mud, it's going to stick its bill into more compact mud and get things that have burrows down there. So they feed on the same types of organisms, but in different ways. What allows them to do that? Well, it's the structure of their bills. Each of the bills is structured in a way that matches its function. Energy utilization. Animals utilize energy. Living things utilize energy. Just a quick question. What's the ultimate source of energy for most terrestrial environments? Think about it, because we're going to come back to it in just a minute. So we've got two kinds of organisms in the environment. There are autotrophs, like the plants in this picture, that utilize energy directly to make complex molecules like sugars or DNA or protein. And then we've got heterotrophs, that's the rabbits in this instance, which obtain energy only by breaking down complex molecules from other organisms. So bunnies don't make their own food, as far as I know. They just eat things. They kill and eat plants. They're like plant predators or plant parasites. They're, blah, how can they get away with this? It's injustice. Well, let me show you. Here is a heron, which is also a heterotroph, eating the bunny, which is a heterotroph, that ate the plant, which is an autotroph. That's justice. But if you can't wait for something like this to happen, well then, here you go. Look at that. That is a delicious meal of sautéed rabbit, sautéed in butter, pine nuts, and some scallions. Delicious, delicious. So you don't have to wait for some heron to come around and eat your bunnies. You can get them, you can eat them, because you are a heterotroph. That's it. Take a break. Have a drink of water. Go to the bathroom if you need to. Come back and watch the next video.